Massive paw prints stamped deep into the muddy ground. Trees toppled, broken branches scattered everywhere. Clear signs that this bear pack wasn't ordinary. Locals said they'd seen one storm into their farms, tearing through fences, even dragging people into the woods. We couldn't wait any longer. It was time to move. Each of us carried not just our rifles, but years of experience and a hunter's instinct sharpened by countless dawns like this. Before sunrise, our formation was set. Every exit sealed. These beasts were strong, but we wouldn't let them terrorize the village for another night. Come along, the hunt begins. Mountain bears are unlike any creature in the forest, silent, cunning, never truly alone. At first light, two dark shapes appeared across the ridge, one large, one smaller. We held our breath and waited. I took aim at the big one, right at the shoulder between that thick coat of fur. Bang! The first shot landed true. It staggered. Then a thunderous volley erupted from the team. Seconds later, the giant brown bear collapsed, letting out one last roar before the mountain went silent again. The alpha was down. One more predator erased from the danger map. No one said a word, but we all knew the hunt wasn't over. It was only beginning. The sun burned high. We pushed down the hillside where bears often basked in the heat. A suspicious blip appeared on the GPS, less than 300 meters away. Mark signaled. The team split into 3 flanks. John adjusted his route. Everyone moved quietly, using every mound and patch of grass as cover.
Good shot. Good shot. Good shot.
Then we saw it, a brown bear lying still in the clearing. No one spoke. We didn't need to. The range, the wind, the shot, all measured, all aligned. One shot, that was all it took. Quick, clean, no panic, no hesitation. Every victory in the wild begins in silence and ends with the discipline of true hunters. Near noon, I broke off from the team, tracing a stony ridge alone. Across the valley, a massive brown bear stood tall. I raised the scope, one shot, perfect hit. It tried to flee. I lowered the rifle, aimed down the iron sights. Boom. Second shot. Dead center. The bear fell where it stood. Out here, no hounds, no backup, just me and the rifle I trust like my own hand. Every bullet carries skill. Every pull of the trigger, a heartbeat of survival. This isn't just hunting. It's a vow to protect every inch of land beneath my boots. And hey, if you thought that shot was clean, hit that like button. After lunch, we regrouped at the rendezvous point. The golden light stretched down the slope. Before we could rest, the watch post signaled another brown bear creeping close to camp. John took a higher position, sighted in, waiting for command. We stayed silent, moving as one. The bear caught movement and bolted. John fired, not to kill, but to warn. The bullet grazed close, forcing it to veer off and vanish into the trees. You don't always have to take the shot. Sometimes, it's enough to make them understand this land isn't theirs to trespass. Not long after, through the scope, I spotted another one, a massive brown bear, lying sideways in the valley below. It hadn't seen us yet. Distance, about 300 meters. Without a word, I adjusted my sights, crosshair steady on its right shoulder. Finger tightened, crack, the dry echo rolled across the hills. Dusk fell. We were packing up when a giant brown bear emerged silently from the western slope. No talking, just instinct. 3 rifles swung as one, no command needed. John fired first. The blast ripped through the air. The bear dropped instantly, swallowed by tall grass. It was over before the echo faded.
Again.
And I was able to put a second shot into him.
Even though modern machinery and technology have advanced, agriculture in my hometown still faces tremendous challenges. Not because the people here lack knowledge or experience, but because of a fear that has haunted us for generations. Wild boars. The desperation in their eyes drove my team and me to make a bold decision. To set out and join an unforgiving battle. This was more than just a hunt, it was a vow to protect the lives of the people here. Could we defeat the beast of the mountains and restore peace to the village? Join us on this perilous journey. Our means of hunting today were unusual. No trucks, no helicopters. We were moving by motorboat. Rifles, scopes, binoculars, everything was ready for an all-out fight on the water. Navigating the boat was already tricky, but spotting wild boars among the flooded grasslands was even tougher. We scouted the area looking for clear patches to set up an ambush. The numbers here weren't small. Boars gathered in herds, with lone stragglers scattered about. All right, time to strike in small bursts. We went after our first target, charging through mud and tall grass. I aimed carefully. One squeeze of the trigger, a fatal shot dropped the beast instantly. A perfect takedown to open a hunt that promised to be anything but easy. What challenges lay ahead? Stay tuned. At the same time, my teammate James was piloting his boat in pursuit of another boar. It tried to slip away, but James already had it in his sights. The moment came, before it could vanish into thick reeds, James fired. The crack of the rifle merged with the roar of the engine, sealing the fate of this ferocious animal. Meanwhile, my boat was locked on another target. The boar's sheer speed made the shot difficult, but years of hunting experience across rough terrains had taught me composure. Aim, squeeze, headshot. The boar staggered, tried to run, but collapsed almost immediately. Another trophy, and another step in reclaiming this land. .48S transition. Chased herd flees into the forest. Pursuit continues. We pushed further into neighboring areas. Suddenly, a herd of boars feeding carelessly came into view. No hesitation, we opened fire together. The first boar fell into the mud, followed by James dropping another. Panic spread, and the herd bolted into the forest. We surged after them, relentless, ready for the next chase. Right then, my dogs gave a signal. They had cornered a target near the riverbank. I rushed over, closing the distance, every ounce of focus locked into the scope. A single shot shattered the silence. The bullet struck its mark. The beast dropped instantly. At the same moment, my teammates discovered another group hiding nearby. We regrouped, determined to wipe them out completely. Through the scope, dark figures moved. I held my breath, waiting for the perfect moment. Then I fired. My teammates followed up swiftly, and one by one, the remaining boars fell. No mercy, no second chances. We had to stop them at the root. After hours of fighting, peace slowly returned to the land. The battle ended. We kept our promise, bringing temporary safety to the village. But deep within the forest, hundreds more still lurk, and the villagers' fear may never truly fade. We knew this was only the beginning of a long war. giant alligators, the tyrants of rivers and swamps, have long been a nightmare for people living along waterways. They don't just attack cattle, goats, and livestock, but also humans, leaving behind horrific consequences for local communities. In some U.S. states, the number of alligator attacks on humans reaches into the hundreds each year, with more than 200 fatalities and millions of dollars in economic losses. Farmers are forced to abandon their fields, while livestock becomes easy prey for these massive beasts. That's why hunters are called in to protect crops, lives, and the safety of entire communities. Now, join us on this thrilling confrontation. We received an urgent report about a giant alligator spotted on a riverbank. Without hesitation, we rushed to the scene. As the truck rolled closer to the river, its massive figure came into view, a colossal alligator lying still. Now, crocodiles, famous for their size and ferocity, can launch lightning-fast attacks and take down even strong, healthy adults with ease. In that tense moment, from my hidden position, I carefully aimed for the critical spot, the strike that would bring it down instantly. According to locals, giant alligators often gather in this area. So, we pressed on in search of new targets. From a manageable distance, I locked my sights on another one, basking on a massive rock. This time, luck was on my side. With a steady aim, I dropped it instantly. The rifle in my hands once again proved to be the perfect weapon, powerful enough to finish the job. If left unchecked, how many more lives would these beasts claim? Ahead, another alligator lay calmly at the water's edge, looking proud, as if this was its personal kingdom. I shouldered my rifle, took a deep breath, and pulled the trigger. One shot, and the alligator collapsed immediately. Even after several takedowns, more kept appearing across the swamp. We had no choice but to stay sharp and methodical, eliminating as many as possible. Do you see that? Another target just came into sight. The sharp crack of gunfire echoed through the swamp. I always tried to take them down with a single bullet, efficient and effective. But the truth was, there were far too many. They moved underwater, vanishing and reappearing everywhere, forcing us to expend much more ammunition than planned. We continued roaming the area, which was absolutely infested with alligators. For poor local farmers, surviving here was extremely dangerous. Alex stumbled upon a group soaking in a muddy pool. Within minutes, gunfire erupted. Immediately after, we continued our ambush, targeting more alligators lurking around the river bend. Although we couldn't wipe out all the alligators in the region, we managed to bring down the largest ones, significantly reducing the threat to the people here. The battle against alligators is far from over, but at least for now, this land will be a little safer, and perhaps peaceful again. The sheep and goats belonging to my Uncle lay scattered across the meadow, their wounds still fresh with blood from savage wolf bites. This devastation wasn't just a financial loss, it was sheer terror spreading through what once was a peaceful village. We couldn't stand by any longer. A plan was drawn, a campaign to reclaim peace. Would we succeed in bringing safety back to our land? Let's find out. After a quick tactical briefing, our team moved into position. We put on our camouflage suits, laced up silent tactical boots, double-checked radios, rifles, and the electronic collar. The pickup truck roared to life, ready to roll into the vast grasslands, the wolves' hidden domain. I picked a vantage point atop a small hill at the edge of an open field. Hidden behind a bush, I placed the electronic collar about 50 meters ahead and turned it on. The sound of a wounded rabbit echoed, an irresistible lure to a predator's instinct. Every second stretched longer than the last as I kept my eyes glued to the scope. Suddenly, a shadow emerged from the tree-line, a wolf. It cautiously crept toward the sound. My finger tightened on the trigger. Boom! The wolf dropped instantly, collapsing onto the grass. Meanwhile, the sharp cracks of gunfire from my teammates echoed in the distance, each shot thinning out the enemy one by one. Using the same tactic, I deployed the collar again. Strangely, the previous gunshots didn't scare the rest, they seemed to provoke curiosity instead. Soon, another wolf appeared, drawn in by the call. This one was bolder. Without hesitation, I locked on and fired. One clean shot swift and decisive. In this hunt, hesitation means failure. You only get one chance, no room for mistakes. We moved to another meadow near the forest edge where claw marks scarred the trees, clear signs of wolf territory. Just as I settled in, a massive wolf appeared, barking and growling with defiance. I tracked its every move through the scope, waiting for the perfect moment. As it stepped closer, I seized the opportunity, squeezed the trigger. A perfect hit. The beast fell instantly. Through the radio, I heard reports my teammates had taken down several more. In the next field, a lone wolf was lured in. It was extremely cautious, advancing, then freezing, scanning nervously. My heart pounded. This was the moment. I aimed quickly, and as soon as it stopped, I fired. The bullet hit true, but the wolf still tried to flee. It bolted straight toward Blake's position. I immediately radioed him the coordinates. At the same time, our other teammates across different sectors were striking hard, their shots ringing out like a symphony of victory. Hearing my alert, Blake locked in from his position. Eyes scanning the field, there it was, racing straight toward him, unaware it was heading into another trap. As soon as it entered the kill zone, Blake fired. Lightning fast, clean, precise, the wolf went down instantly. Each crack of a rifle meant one less enemy in this war for survival. After a quick lunch break, we resumed the mission. The sun was dipping, twilight, the wolves' most active hour. I spotted movement in the grass ahead. Carefully, I raised my rifle. The gunfire thundered again, crisp and controlled. Each shot echoed like punctuation marks, one sound, one fallen predator. As dusk settled, one last wolf came into sight. I tracked it through the scope, steadying my breath. To draw its attention, I let out a short howl, and just as predicted, it stopped and looked right toward me. That brief pause was all I needed. One final perfect shot, and the hunt was over. Night descended as we packed up our gear. The Jeep Wrangler rumbled down the dirt road, carrying us home in quiet satisfaction. Tonight, the villagers and their herds would finally sleep in peace. Wild boars, creatures once thought to lurk only in deep forests, have become a true nightmare for rural communities. They rampage through fields, destroying crops, attacking livestock, and even targeting humans. Faced with this growing threat, farmers and hunters are forced to take action to protect their livelihoods. How have they confronted these ferocious beasts? Join us on a thrilling and suspenseful journey to hunt wild boars in today's video. Join us at the snowy hills of Montana, USA, in the depths of winter, where wild boars relentlessly churn the frozen ground, wreaking havoc on ecosystems and crops. We've come fully equipped with firearms, cold weather gear, thermal binoculars, and all necessary tools. The hunt in the frigid wilderness officially begins. Tracking footprints etched in the thick snow for an hour, we suddenly heard a strange noise ahead. All of a sudden, a dark shadow shot out from the bushes like an arrow slicing through the air. Immediately, I raised my rifle, locked onto the target, and pulled the trigger. The gunshot rang out clean and decisive. The beast collapsed, tumbling a few times on the snowy ground before lying still. It seems my gunshot startled the other prey nearby. From a distance, another wild boar emerged. Swiftly pulling the trigger, the bullet struck its head, leaving the beast no chance to escape. The winter battlefield ended with victory for the steely hunters. Now, join me for another hunting adventure in the scorching summer of the American South, where the blistering heat drives wild boars to gather around fields and water sources. Firearms, binoculars, and tracking gear are ready. A new battleground, a new hunt begins now. Trekking along the hillside at dawn, we swiftly set out to hunt the ferocious beasts in the area. Suddenly, a rustling sound nearby signaled something approaching. A dark shadow burst from the thicket. I immediately drew my rifle, aiming straight at the target. The gunshot rang out decisively. The beast collapsed instantly, completely subdued by the hunter's barrel. The hunting dogs were unleashed, swiftly picking up the scent and driving the prey toward us. Moments later, from the edge of the hill, a massive beast suddenly charged forward. Unfazed, I raised my rifle, locking onto the target. The gunshot echoed through the still air, and in an instant the beast collapsed onto the parched ground, unable to resist. A few minutes later, another wild boar was struggling to climb up the rocky cliff. I raised my rifle, squinted to align the shot, and pulled the trigger without hesitation. The bullet whistled through the air, striking the target dead on. The beast lurched violently, then staggered, sliding down the hillside. Not far away, a teammate of mine was swiftly shouldering his rifle, eyes locked on a target sprinting wildly across the hills. The prey tried to accelerate, but mere seconds later, a sharp crack echoed. All movement ceased. IT collapsed without time to react. Today's journey concludes with breathless pursuits through untamed wilderness where neither the harsh winter nor the blazing summer could halt the hunter's steps. All actions were carried out in strict accordance with legal regulations in designated hunting areas in the USA. At the boundary where civilization meets the wild, feral hogs are more than just a threat. They are the silent invaders of America's grasslands, hills, and forests. Fields torn apart, farms ravaged, and even lives endangered by their rampage. We can't stand idly by. Once again, we set out to confront this rebellious force of nature. In today's journey, will we maintain the upper hand? Will these monstrous beasts yield? Join us to find the answers. Kicking off today's hunt, we venture into the boundless grasslands, a haven where feral hogs lurk, waiting for their chance to wreak havoc. After meticulously checking our firearms, communication gear, and releasing the hunting dogs, our group swiftly sets off. From a distance, through my binoculars, I spot a feral hog charging across the grassland, kicking up clouds of dry grass with each heavy step. Without hesitation, I set up an ambush, steady my position, and raise my rifle. Aiming straight at its vulnerable spot, I pull the trigger. The bullet slices through the air, striking true. The hog tumbles a few times before collapsing in the field, silence before it could even squeal. Suddenly, a rustling of leaves from nearby bushes signals danger. I instantly raise my rifle, eyes locked on every movement, tense with anticipation. In a split second, a massive shadow bursts out, charging across the grass like a living arrow. I swiftly track the target and fire decisively. The bullet tears through the air, striking the beast's flank. It staggers, loses momentum, and rolls across the ground before lying still, motionless. Leaving the grasslands behind after those thrilling takedowns, we press on, advancing toward the rugged hills where steep cliffs and treacherous terrain await. Here, feral hogs often lurk deep within dense thickets or hidden crevices out of sight. After checking our gear, securing straps, and readying our firearms, the team begins to move, slowly, deliberately, but with unwavering resolve. From a high, rocky outcrop, I scan the sprawling hills below. Suddenly, a dark shape darts through sparse trees, racing down the slope like a bolt of lightning. Without hesitation, I shoulder my rifle, lock the crosshairs on the beast's every move, and squeeze the trigger. The bullet whistles through the air, striking its target dead on. The feral hog stumbles, then tumbles down the hillside, completely subdued. On the opposite hillside, my teammate is locked in a tense confrontation. A frenzied herd of feral hogs is scattering chaotically across the rugged terrain. Unfazed, he raises his rifle, steadies his stance, and locks onto his target. A single shot rings out, sharp and commanding. The lead hog drops instantly, sliding down a rocky slope before coming to a lifeless halt. Suddenly, the barking of dogs echoes from the nearby hillside, signaling another prey's presence. I immediately move closer, cautiously scanning for tracks. Out of nowhere, a monstrous beast charges straight toward me, barreling like a swirling black whirlwind. Without a moment's hesitation, I hold my breath, raise my rifle, and pull the trigger. The deafening crack of the shot shatters the tense air. The bullet strikes the beast's head, and it collapses at my feet, motionless. The day's hunt concludes with precise ambushes and seamless teamwork among the hunters. The entire pursuit strictly adhered to legal regulations and ensured ecological safety in the permitted area. we received shocking news from home. My mother's hard work on the fields was being destroyed by a herd of wild boars. To protect that harvest, we chose the specialized hunting bow, a weapon that demands silence and absolute precision. Without hesitation, we set out. Today, this bow is not just for hunting, but for preserving the sweat and effort of an entire season. We moved quickly to the vehicle and headed straight into the waiting forest. Battle plans, the positions of the automatic feeders, and each member's coordinates were laid out clearly. Wearing camouflage gear, boots gripping the damp soil, radios checked, and bows firmly in hand, arriving in the forest at dawn, the silence was eerie. Soon, the sweet trap we had set paid off. Their greed became a fatal mistake. As the herd feasted carelessly, I held my breath, sighted the largest boar, drew back the bowstring, and released. Thud! The arrow pinned the beast to the ground. Relief washed over the team, because the first shot always sets the rhythm for the entire hunt. The rest of the herd panicked and scattered. Our first victory was still fresh when the radio crackled with news. The second feeder was working perfectly. Suddenly, a greedy brute froze, sensing danger. This was the chance. John released his arrow. It struck hard. The boar struggled violently before collapsing in defeat. That arrow carried no hatred. It carried a promise. A full harvest for my mother. Following fresh tracks, I trailed those that had escaped earlier. They led me into a damp, overgrown area. Aha, there it was. A wild boar cooling itself in the mud beneath a tree. I drew the bow tight and released with certainty. The arrow cut through the air, and with a dry thump, the beast thrashed, then fell still. The hunter's secret is to think like the prey itself. Only by understanding its thirst and exhaustion under the burning sun can you anticipate its next move. The hunt was far from over. As the afternoon shadows stretched long, we moved to the forest's edge, where another feeder had drawn intruders. Every step, every breath had to be silent. One mistake could cost the piece of this land. Perched on a high branch, I lined up the perfect shot. But the arrow sliced the air and missed. Missed! The beasts bolted instantly into the distance. Swallowing my frustration, I radioed their direction to my teammates, turning my mistake into their opportunity. The moment John received my call, he sprinted across the meadow to intercept. Along the way, he spotted dark shadows rustling in the tall grass, searching for food. In that tense moment, he drew his bow, the limbs bending to their limit. But haste ruined it. The arrow missed. The three brutes wheeled around and vanished eastward. Bow hunting is unforgiving. One mistimed breath, a tiny gust of wind, and the arrow strays. Failure stings, but every miss teaches the harsh line between success and defeat. John and I pressed on, tracking the survivors to a clearing deep in the forest, only to find not three, but an entire herd feasting together. From above, I drew tight, muscles straining, aiming at the massive target below. Arrows flew, and though some struck true, several beasts escaped. Fate seemed to mock us. Today's hunt was grueling. filled with narrow victories and bitter misses. But our determination to protect the fields is unshaken. We will return, armed even stronger. As sunset painted the sky, it was time to call it day. We packed our gear, loaded our spoils into the Jeep Gladiator and rolled home. This battle will only end when no wild boar threatens my mother's fields. Our helicopter lifted off the ground at the break of dawn, cutting through a thin veil of mist that blanketed the southern Italian grasslands. The pale morning light drifted across low shrubs, where wild boars silently roamed, leaving behind winding trails of hoofprints. Inside the cramped cabin, the engine's roar pounded against our chests. Neither John nor I spoke a word. Only the sharp clicks of rounds being chambered broke the silence. Focus was absolute. Our hunt for the day had begun. On the very first scouting run, we spotted a pack of jet black boars lumbering along the forest's edge. Startled by the engine's thunder overhead, they scattered in chaos, leaving a tangled mess of tracks on the grass below. John raised his rifle calmly. Each shot he fired found its mark with absolute precision. My hands gripped the controls, feeling every vibration as the helicopter shuddered with each sharp burst from his weapon. By the time the sun rose higher, we had found another massive herd. They scattered in all directions, weaving unpredictably, making pursuit nearly impossible. I kept the helicopter at just the right altitude, giving John the perfect angle. John squeezed the trigger with composure, his bullets slicing through the air before slamming into the targets. I adjusted in sync with his every move, our teamwork flowing like a silent dance. One by one, the destructive beasts collapsed under his steady aim. Relief washed over us. We knew the farmer's fields were a little safer now. The golden blaze of the afternoon sun stretched across the grasslands, adding yet another challenge to our hunt. From above, we spotted 2 stragglers wandering near the forest's edge. John wasted no time. He steadied his rifle, eyes locked onto the targets. Each bullet flew true, decisive and unerring. Both boars fell quickly, and for a moment I felt as though the farmer's entire harvest had been spared in that single instant. Had we not intercepted them, the losses would have been devastating, months of labor destroyed overnight. What do you think of our seamless teamwork? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Italian sun bore down mercilessly in the late afternoon, its blazing rays scorching the golden fields. From the helicopter, the shimmering air made aiming unreliable. Realizing conditions had turned against us, John and I made a swift decision: land the aircraft and continue the hunt on foot across the grasslands. As we followed a narrow trail cutting through the tall grass, a guttural growl suddenly erupted from a nearby thicket. My rifle came up instinctively, sight locked on the flicker of movement through the swaying grass. I squeezed the trigger slowly, one sharp crack, one clean shot. The bullet struck true, and the beast collapsed instantly. As the sun dipped westward, painting the fields in golden hues, we spotted a lone boar resting lazily, completely unaware of our presence. I steadied myself, rifle raised, eyes locked on the beast. With one smooth motion, I pulled the trigger. The shot rang out, precise, decisive. The boar froze, then fell without a sound. Clean, efficient, without disturbing the tranquility of the land. What do you think of the way I handled this? Share your thoughts below. With spirits high, our team decided to push on into night. Our targets remained the same, the massive, dark figures that lurked in the fields, sabotaging the farmer's crops. Then, a sudden rustle in the brush. A boar burst out, lightning fast. My heart nearly stopped. But John's reflexes were razor sharp. Without hesitation, he moved like a seasoned hunter, his bullets cutting through the chaos with pinpoint accuracy. The beast collapsed before it could inflict any more damage. We laughed in triumph, satisfied with the day's success. As we packed up and headed back to the village, we felt like heroes of the harvest. Today's hunt closed with tense encounters, flawless teamwork, and the kind of precision only born from experience and responsibility. Every bullet counted, every decision mattered.